someone that they can hold you accountable. Because where are they in your hard times? I'm not saying that we need to share everything with everyone, but the people that we invite to our marriages, our marriage ceremonies, should be somebody that we can lean on. I think it's traditional that the bride has a matron of honor and a maid of honor. Well, where are they in your hard times? What type of encouragement will they give you? Will it be the right encouragement? Are they the ones that tell you, pack your bags, leave? Or are they the ones that will come knocking on your door 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night because you've called them to say, you know what, I'm about to leave and we just had an argument, and they come running to be like, no, we're going to mediate. You sit over here, what's going on? Because tonight y'all going to be both in your beds, and we're going to work with you, hold your hand through this disagreement, because nothing is too hard for God to fix or for God to handle. And so let's take this to the Lord. And we've even been, you were in the parking lot one day about to leave. I was in the house with the kids, and the women were up with me and the men were down with you, or somehow maybe one couple was with him and one couple was with me, but they weren't letting us loose. They were like, no, this is not going down. No cops are going to be called, which I'm not saying our arguments ever get to that type of level, but this is how we should be for one another. You don't need to call no cops. We're here. We can mediate. You don't need to be loud for your neighbors to get all stirred up. Calm down. You go first, then you. Just to be there to help and coach through it all. So that's important. When you assess or decide with your spouse, who is going to come to the ceremony or who is going to be a witness, make sure your witnesses are going to be those that will help your marriage and not hinder it in any way. Because whom God brings together, let no man put asunder.
That's right. Accountability partner is important. I recommend one if you don't have one.
So just again, making sure that when you speak these vows, that you're understanding the importance of those vows, because you're speaking those vows to God and man, before God and man. So it's a covenant. It's something you're being held, what would be the right words? Held accountable.
It's an oath.
Yeah.
Making a vow, a promise.
No one has a gun to your head talking about write these vows and you're going to say these words. It should be words that are coming from your heart. So why not be held to your own words, especially when you want to hold others to their word? Will you hold yourself to your word?
More importantly, holding God to his word.
And he will, because if you invite him into your marriage, he'll do it.
Absolutely.
But the problem lies with us. Will you hold yourself accountable to your word? Because God is he's faithful to his word. He'll never lie or say one thing and do another. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. But when it comes to us, are we going to do what we say we're going to do that day that we're all dressed up, dolled up in front of people? Are we going to carry out what we say we're going to do? So are we really holding ourselves to our vows? Because the divorce rate would say, no, we're not holding ourselves. Something to talk about. What would you have to say?
Yeah, we got to honor them. Because even in church, it doesn't look like they're honoring them. It's a lot of divorce in the church. Mm-hmm. Not honoring the vows that they made to God and to their spouse. So the church is starting to transform and look like the world. Where we're supposed to be set apart.
The example.
And be an example. A peculiar people.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to look like instead of looking different.
Yep. Now, I know some people would ask, when did you believe that you were ready for marriage?
I don't know. I just wanted to be married.
It was a desire.
Yeah, it was a desire. Didn't know when. It was just a desire. It was a dream that turned into a desire.
Do you think people can know that they're ready for marriage?
They can have an inclination. They can be book ready. They can think they know, but you don't know until you get there. That's why in the Bible, they marry to date, whereas we date to marry.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lifetime to get to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is you got to know once you go in. That's why it's important to be equally yoked.
Yes.
Because unequally yoked, it doesn't always work. I won't say it never works, because some may work, but you have to be equally yoked. You have to believe in the same God, the triune God. That way you have the same beliefs. To know that divorce isn't an option. You work when you're not each other's enemy. You learn one another. It's 1 Peter 3:7. Dwell with her according to knowledge, as being the weaker vessel. You have to dwell. That dwelling means to understand. You understand, you live, you know when something ain't right. You've been with them long enough, you know when it ain't right, and you know how to make it right. But you got to dwell with them according to knowledge.
I definitely think it's important to truly get counseling.
Yes.
Marital counseling with your pastor, or normally it's a must if you're going to get married in a church, where the pastor will sit with you. But the reason why I say that is so that you make sure that the vision or the understanding that perception that you have in regards to marriage is accurate. Because the way, I believe I was influenced by movies. I was influenced by some incorrect things, so that when I got married, I was like, what? This is marriage? And so then what I started to understand was, yes, marriage is work. Like, don't take that saying lightly. Oh, they're just saying that because they've been married for 45 years. They're just saying that because they're stubborn. No, marriage is work. Why? Because two individuals that were brought up two different ways, that were loved two different ways, are coming together. And that's why it's the work of God, not you. Because you can work, and in your heart, or the other heart won't be receptive. But when God is involved, he's able to work on the hearts of man, the both of you, and bring the two together as one. You can't do it. He can't do it. Only God can do that work. So you can be busting your head. Oh, why is it not this? And how come listen, you don't have that power. You don't have that power. So it's important for you to get a true understanding of marriage and your roles of wife and husband. What is my role? And even ask your spouse, what are your expectations of me as a wife? And then, your spouse, what are your expectations of me as your husband? It's important to talk in your dating. Don't just be so worried about looking cute and your presentation, because guess what? There's going to be days where you're not done up like that, and he's going to see the real you anyway. You need to take the time to get to know one another's heart. How do you feel about this? What about that? What about your parents? What about your parents? What if they get sick? What if I get sick? What are your feelings about my mom coming to live with us? My dad coming to live with us? Talk about it all as much as you can. And again, even though you talk about things doesn't mean you're foolproof, because people lie. They'll tell you what they want you to believe during the dating. Oh yeah, and you're like, ooh. And then there are times where in the midst of it, the realness comes out. But still, at least your heart is settled with, we talked about this. I made it clear that, my wishes were I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. My wishes were I wanted to raise my kids. I want to be there for them. Now, if life comes and changes that, then it should be understand that, hey, we're a team. We got to work together. But there's nothing wrong with sharing your desires, but making room for God's way and his will. Because we can plan all day long, and then God's plan will definitely trump all that. So you have to be open to receiving God's will and way. But there's still nothing wrong with you and your spouse sitting down and talking about your future, talking about your desires. Hey, what are your wishes? What are your expectations? Because many relationships and marriages fail because you never planned. So you actually defaulted in planning and failing versus planning and succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any encouragement that you could give to our viewers or our listeners when it comes to marriage?
Do it God's way. 100%. Because marriage works. It's fun. It's an institute that God created for us. We can't look at how the world dictates it and how they treat it and act upon it, because they get married one week and then they marry somebody else the next week. They don't honor God. They don't even honor the sanctity of marriage. But that's what I pose. If you think you're ready for marriage, you sit with your pastor and you go through counseling. Counseling is definitely important because pastors know what questions to ask to see where you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And then after counseling, you'll know where you stand, and then you'll know how to go forward.
That's a good point, because many couples will begin their counseling, and then if their pastor is like, we're going to push this date, or I feel that you're not ready,
right,
they'll go elsewhere, or they'll just stop the whole counseling and jump the broom and hey, we just went to the justice of peace and just did it.
See?
And then once what the pastor was seeing, discernment, right, comes out, the couple's like, oh, so this is why he wanted us to wait.
Exactly.
Or these were the red flags that had our pastor saying, maybe y'all shouldn't be in such a rush. Let's have some more time together to work and build so that the foundation is correct going in versus, again, doing a whole, what do you call it? Like rehab of the foundation and then, working it back where it should be.
I got to break it all up.
Yeah. So
again.
It's better because, again, you're honoring the institution that God has put holy matrimony together. So it's better that you would separate in that engagement phase than to divorce.
Right.
What's the rush? If you love each other, what you rushing for? The love is still there. No date determines, again, when the love began. You love one another. Just relax. Allow God to lead you. He will never lead you astray. He will never lead you in harm's way. Allow him to lead you because it's perfection when he's the one leading.
I agree.
So my encouragement, again, would kind of just be what we were just talking about. Ladies, the scripture is clear. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Many women are out there declaring, decreeing, you're going to be my husband. And God told me he going to speak to him first and foremost. But secondly, don't be in such a rush just to have someone that you end up losing yourself. It ain't worth it. What God has for you is for you. No man, no demon can interrupt that. So just wait on God. It's going to be the best thing you ever do. Wait on God. Trust him. Take him at his word. You will never lose out on what he has for you.
Right.
Never. Same for the man. Listen, what is for you is for you. Period. Pooh. Thinking of my daughter. But it's for you. Nobody can take that from you. So there's no rush that is needed. There's no, well, let me do this, like going before God. You don't have to do that. God's timing and his will is perfect. So just rest in his promise and you will be fine.
Amen.
So we hope that you enjoyed our marriage and vow session. And I hope that